Did 27 years in prison. Been out 8 years. Let me tell y'all about the first time they used force on me in prison. Now, for those of you guys that don't know what it means when I say use of force is when they have to restrain you in a situation when the situation is out of hand and they cannot get control over the situation. So, for instance, if two inmates arguing and it comes to a physical altercation, and they would tell you, like, I think 3 times they'll say, stop, inmate, stop, inmate, stop. And if you don't obey that third time, then that's when they come in and they will forcefully break it up or separate the situation. So sometimes with the use of force, now the institution had a reputation of using unnecessary use of force, which means that they would use force even when the situation was not called for, and they would use unnecessary force in a situation that they didn't even have to use force or that type of force in. So, say for instance, if somebody fighting or somebody in a physical altercation or whatever it may be, they'll come in, the guys, and just pick the inmate up and slam the inmate, and you didn't have to do all that. All you really had to do was get between it and just separate it and handcuff them. But instead, you come in with some misdirected anger that you want to take out on the inmate, so you just wind up just taking that inmate or that stress or that anger out on the inmate that day because the officer, done came in having a bad day. And sometimes they do that. So there's a lot of inmates that has been unalived because of use of force. And there's a lot of inmates have been paralyzed because of misuse of force or excessive use of force. Using force when it wasn't even necessary. Like, I watched them several times use force on elders when all you really had to do was just take that little lady and just by the arm and just walk her right on to the holding cell or the confinement. Instead, you take her, slam out her wheelchair, and do all this unnecessary use of force, cuffing her up, and that's unnecessary. But let me tell you about the time they use force on me. Now, 9 times out of 10, when the officers use force on inmates, the inmate gonna wind up hurt. If they don't wind up unalive, and they'll tell the story, the institution will cover it by saying natural causes or saying that it was necessary that the officer use that type of force. And when the officers want to use that type of force because they just nasty and that's their attitude, they will make like the inmate actually tried to buck or fight against them. And that's why they had to take it to that next level of use of force, which do not be the truth, because I've watched a lot of unnecessary and excessive uses of force that was not really necessary for them to go that far with it. First time they used force on me, I was had gotten into a fight with this inmate, and first of all, it wasn't my fight. It was me and my homegirl was standing at the canteen, and the girl was mad with my homegirl, and because my homegirl, I don't know what they had gotten into. Little dominant girl, they had gotten into something. But anyway, my homegirl had done left and went somewhere to do something. So she saw me walking by myself. And because I was laid back and quiet, pretty face, she thought, okay, see, my homegirl looked real, real rough. She looked like a little boy for real. See, I always had this soft little cute face. So she said, oh, she figured I was the weakest link. So she came at me because her anger was misdirected because she couldn't get to my friend. And I didn't even have a problem with this girl. She just came at me because she couldn't get to my friend again. So she came and she kind of tried to get me from behind, So when I turned around, she coming at me to fight me. So I turned back around and I did what I had to do. So anyway, we scrapping, right? You know what that means? We scrapping. So it was like this right here. I was getting the best. So we went over there and we went by some type of door, and there was a lot of little rocks on the ground, like a little alley with a lot of rocks on the ground. So when I was over there and we was throwing hands and everything, I had done got her. She like dropped her head. So I was throwing them. And as I was walking, and throwing them, I slipped on the rock. When I slipped, I went back and I caught myself like this on my hand. Pushed back up, came back up, kept throwing them, right? So the officers, they was like, officer coming, officer coming, officer coming. But see, by then, my mind was in another dimension. You know how you go in that blackout stage when you know, you ain't in that stage no more where you trying to rationalize and be in the moment. I was not in the moment anymore. My mind had done kind of like blanked out because I'm like, okay, she done came for me. Like, let me go ahead on and shut this down. So I went in another space in my mind because I felt like, you know, I needed to take it there right then because I wasn't finna have no more of these situations. I already told you about my first fight, but this the second fight, and I hadn't had a fight now in like 5 years. So I was like, let me take it there because I'm at another institution now. The first fight was at the first institution when I first got to prison. Now this is another institution. This 5 years later, this at a new institution. So I don't have a name made for myself at this institution. And this is the first time I've been tried at this institution. So I'm like, okay, it's time for me to, you know, go ahead on and let them know that, I'm not finna do my time being tried. So I done went in this space. So I'm in it now. The officer's talking and I ain't hearing what the officer said, man. I'm just in I'm in my element right now, man. I'm doing what I gotta do. So he was like, inmates, break it up. Inmates, break it up. Inmates, break it up. But you know, I wasn't hearing none of that. So anyway, they came over and they grabbed, okay, her head was down. At this point, you know, I had like her shirt in the back, like this right here. Her head was down and I'm coming up like this right here. So they came and they pulled her first. And then they had grabbed my arm. When they grabbed my arm, y'all, let me tell you, I don't know what came out of me. I said, nah, man, nah. I don't want no man touching me. I don't want no man touching me. And they looking like, break it up, let go. And I was like, nah. So a sergeant, a female sergeant, white lady, man, she was real straight with me, man. I love her to this day, man. She know who she is, and if she listening, she know what I'm talking about. She came and she said, she say, let Tree go. So the male officers let me go. She say, I got her. And she took me and she said, I never forget this day. She say, every male step back. She say, every man step back. And every male had to step back. And I said, I don't want no male touching me. I don't know what was coming out of me. Y'all, I was like, no, I don't want no male touching me. See, I had started having flashback by stuff I seen happening with my sister. I had done clicked out, y'all. I went in another space and I was crying. I don't want no male touching me. I don't want no male touching me. So she made them step back and all the ladies came. And I say, I want all women ride me. I cuff up then. When all the females came, I cuffed up. Went on to confinement. But man, I just wanted to say, man, you know, being in there, first I want to give thanks to God because you know what? God showed me favor even in that. He had his hand so on me. I was so covered that God wouldn't even allow them to use force on me the way that they would do on any other inmate. They had to slam the girl I was fighting. They pulled her and slammed this girl. And it's like they hesitated when they came for me. Like they grabbed my arm, but it wasn't forceful. Like they just did me like this. It's like everything was gentle and slow motion. And it's like God stepped in like, you ain't gonna hurt this one. You know, we all God's creation. But we're not all God's children. We all God's creation. Now, the ones that, you know, come to him and accept salvation, those are his children when we make him our father. But we're all his creation and he loves us all. But I just want to thank God that day that how he covered me and he was like, no, man, that's mine. You're not going to hurt this girl. You're not going to hurt her. And he covered me even in that. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to say, man, in that prison place, a lot of stuff will come at you that you don't even know you have. And I didn't know at the time that I really disliked it. Men the way that I did until that moment right there. And God had to do a healing in my heart from that point on. Because I didn't even know it until it came at me. When they came for me, some stuff went back in my childhood. I flipped out. I saw the trauma come up and, you know, God had to do a healing in me. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, man. Y'all continue to pray for me and y'all be blessed.